Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session. We're going to get going very quickly since we only have 20 minutes. My name is Matthew Cordner. I'm the Principal Aerospace and Defense and Business Architect for HCL. And I have the distinct pleasure today of talking to you with Jimmy Calas from Northrop Grumman, the Director of Manufacturing and Inventory and Sustainment. We're going to talk a little bit about what we call Model-Based Enterprise 2.0. We're all familiar with model-based enterprise and product models, but many of you have models also of your supply chain, manufacturing, material planning, and many of those models are in your ERP system. And what we're going to talk a little bit about today is how Northrop has done a very, very effective job during their S4 implementation of stitching together those models from all the different applications, because as we all know, the business processes flow across all of them. HCL's had the distinct pleasure of being involved in the program from the beginning, starting with a business case and an assessment. We ran over 100 functional workshops with business and IT people to define the business case and put together an implementation plan, and we're then chosen as a partner on their journey at Northrop Grumman. So without talking anymore, I'll let the star of the show, Jimmy, take over.
All right. Thank you, Matt. All right, so Northrop Grumman. We are a trusted innovator who delivers technologies that ensure America leads the world in military strength, space exploration, and innovation. We have 100,000 employees that are spread across all 50 states, and we really do have the cutting-edge manufacturing facilities and engineering design labs. And at the heart of it, we're really integrators, right? We integrate systems together to ensure that we are delivering the most value to our customers. So our business, we're actually broken up into 4 distinct sectors. We have aircraft systems, or AS sector, mission systems, space systems, and defense systems. And across those different sectors, we're really focusing on trying to bring the business together, again, to deliver the most value to our customers. With our B-21 stealth aircraft and our Sentinel systems, those are the cornerstones of our nation's strategic deterrence. And this is the part I love the most. It's really the definition of peace through strength, right? So we have those distinct sectors, and really what we're doing, we are committed to shaping the future of defense. At Northrop Grumman, we invest in our people, our tools, and technologies to deliver to our commitments. Our shared purpose, our mission is to keep the company at the forefront of technology. So we're really focused on these major areas: scale at speed, discriminating technologies, operations and performance, our people, our economic impact, investments, and our legacy. But now, Matt said, I'm a manufacturing guy, right? So I'm here primarily focused on that scale and speed, our operations, and our people.
But one of the things that we discovered about each other when we met a couple of weeks ago was that both of us come from the business side. I spent 30 years on engineering, manufacturing, supply chain. You've been in manufacturing. And it's funny that we both kind of push against the label of IT guy, right? And so it's really been fun to see this from the business perspective. Northrop makes a lot of very, very complex products, right? And as you know, as you lived in that world, those products, and my background as an aircraft designer, are a very complex system of systems.
Yes.
Right? And we have processes for arbitrating across those. In fact, there's a whole group of people that tells everybody, no, you can't do that. It's called systems engineering. And one of the things I noticed when I came into IT was that we don't necessarily do the same thing. We go by very strong applications to manage these silos, yet our business processes go across them. So what have you done to ensure that as you build a complex system of systems in your IT architecture with multiple applications, the business processes can flow across them?
Yeah, it's important when you look at our overall vision from Northrop's perspective, right? We want to focus on not just the product lifecycle from design all the way to sustainment, but we also want to focus on the systems that what we call our pillar systems that enable us to connect that data, right, and realize that vision. So when you look at our pillar systems, it starts with our PLM systems up front, and that's our design, our concept phase, into our ERP. That's why we're here at SAP, right? Into our MES, which we'll go into a little bit further. That's really where we start to build the products. That's our execution systems, which we're going with right now is PEO, an SAP product, into our MRO and our sustainment and logistics, right? So now, as we look at today's environment and where we are currently moving, Today, those pillar systems are very siloed, right? Or we have to build specific integrations to pass that data along, which only adds the complexity, right? But where we're going is this integrated ecosystem where our PLM, our ERP, and our MES systems, down to our MRO, they're all using the same data models. They're all actually have that digital thread where we can have traceability of our requirements from a systems engineering perspective, all the way down to manufacturing on the shop floor. So this is where we're going, right? So when we talk about our model-based enterprise 2.0, we started with focusing on our ERP, but now we're transitioning to really focusing on our execution.
Very, very ambitious. And as we all know, this takes a lot of interfaces, and very often, really the barrier to agility across these business processes may not be inside the applications. It may be within the interfaces. I'm looking forward, and a little bit later, you talk a little bit about the role of interfaces and what you've done to actually reduce the number and to make them more agile.
Yeah. So like I said, we started with ERP, right? So we started on our SAP HANA journey, our transformation, a couple years ago, right? And it really was driven around the four key areas from a business imperatives perspective. Focusing on harmonization, right? Harmonization of our business processes. Now we talk a lot about harmonization. There's also standardization, right? And those are two different things. So we're really driving towards standardization and then harmonization as we look at getting the most value out of our systems. Next is, reducing our overall technical debt, right? We had a lot of legacy systems at Northrop Grumman. We had a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So bringing everybody into a common platform, a common ERP platform is a goal because it helps us with reducing overall technical debt and then looking to transform our enterprise data structure, right? To reduce that technical debt, we have to do that. That data structure allows us to then use and get that information to our leaders real time so they can make quicker decisions. And ultimately, the simplification, right? We have a lot of business reorganizations that take place. Those are very complex. By us standardizing our data, standardizing our systems will help with that, right?
And you've actually retired several hundred company codes. You've retired integrations. This really has been, from an IT architecture point of view and a business architecture, a massive simplification process.
Yes, absolutely, right? So we look at our transformation drivers, right? We talked about the processes and the architectures lowering their overall technical debt. We talked about the standardization, harmonization, our focus there. As we get into the advanced analytics, right, that is really where, we're starting with this foundational backbone because we want to realize and get the true value out of those analytics. And to do that, the simplification of the architecture and the data is imperative for that, right? But ultimately, we want to focus on the people because the people are the most important part of our business. And having that simplified or having that user experience will increase productivity because they're not looking at different systems. They're not having to swivel seat going from different systems, legacy systems. That will help with them as far as their growth.
Yeah, there's another analogy that, of course, being from manufacturing for many years, learning curve is everything, right? Is the ability, especially if you got multiple development programs, to get up a learning curve quickly. So that UI simplification and training very often doesn't get enough attention. But at the end of the day, your ability to get planed back out to the performance levels that you want really has a lot to do with the simplicity and usability of the user interface. Obviously, Fiori is helping a lot with that. But the ability to get those learning curves down as short as possible so you can get your team back up and running.
So we talked about S4 as the backbone. But again, I'm a manufacturing guy. I want to build product, right? So how does this impact us? Well, as you can see, this has been a journey for us, right? We started up front actually working with HCL and helping us with our business case and our implementation plan for S4 as an ERP system, right? They helped transform our business processes and harmonization. Then we have deployed ERP as a digital core, so the S4 HANA deployment, and we're continuing to do that as we move across our business, right? But ultimately, this, again, is the enabler for, again, what I focus on, the manufacturing side. Deploying advanced capabilities around supply chain, manufacturing sustainment, and analytics, right? So this journey with S4, with HCL, has really gotten us to where we're at today, right? On the MES side with PEO.
Can we talk a little bit more about PEO? It's an interesting journey, right? And the ability to go in and maybe do some standardization in the shop floor space, and the potential to maybe simplify some of the interfaces between the shop floor and your ERP system, which are so critical to ongoing operations of an aircraft assembly.
Absolutely. So this is where we're at today, right? Today we're looking at our MES, which is our manufacturing execution system, and our MOM, manufacturing operations management options. In our legacy, we had standalone MES. So one of the challenges with standalone MES is, as you can see on the image behind me, those integrations between your various PDM systems and PLMs and your ERP system S4 down to your standalone MES, there's a lot of data pushing back and forth. Well, those integrations, one, they're costly, you have to maintain them, and as your PLM and your ERP systems evolve and they change, you now have to maintain those integrations between your MES.
Right. We very often talk about the change management process with engineering and product change, but that really is heavily utilized during development, right? But when you get into production, which is probably 70% of what you do in your company, the change management is around managing changes in supply and demand, which churns back to your ERP system. And the amount and velocity and ability to be agile in that world is just as important as it is to manage that engineering change management across your applications.
So as we look forward and we're moving into PEO, one of the value propositions of PEO is that it's integrated with our S4 HANA platform, right? So by having your integrated MES, you're reducing the overall interfaces. You have the ability to reuse and capture real-time data, right? Both from your PLM system, PDM, and your ERP. So you can see that impact faster, right? So as we look at engineering, from a manufacturing perspective, we say, yes, just give me the designs and get the hell out of the way and let me build it, right? Well, this helps us with that realization because we're gonna have that engineering change, as you said, quicker in our hands, so we can do true impact analysis of our engineering change going forward. So, the focus from PLM, ERP, and integration with your MES is one aspect. We also want to look at the integration with the shop floor. As we talk about your IoT platform, your Internet of Things, your machines on your shop floor, getting that data, because there's lots of data at the shop floor that we don't have readily available in our MES system to then give us that real-time input. So HCL worked with us to help build that integration layer between our IoT platform and SAP MII, which is that connection. And really that is helping us, again, get access to data on the shop floor, helping us make real-time decisions that impact us. And we are moving forward with that as the HCL MBE 2.0 framework recommends, right?
And also integration with the PLM system is so critical, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so with integration for the PLM system, we're utilizing PLM-SI, which our PLM system is Siemens Teamcenter. PLM-SI is a partnership between Siemens and SAP. So they're helping develop the integrations from core Teamcenter to core SAP S4. And we're able to then leverage that partnership to get the most value out of it.
Right. And there's a lot of things that have to be considered that we wish weren't there, but in aerospace they are, things that might be Greek to other industries like parameter effectivity and grouping, pegging, and distribution and so forth. And so have you been able to navigate those very A&D or at least government contractor unique scenarios through this architecture?
Yes, absolutely. As we're looking at, we do have complexity in the way we build, both from our manufacturing and design practices and from our customer base and the way, security levels that we are able to do. So we're able to work with SAP, work with Siemens to help with that. We're actually partnering with them on that for our first deployment. As we are looking to roll out PEO at Northrop Grumman, we have a go live here coming up mid-year, so end of Q2. We will be rolling out both the integrations from S4 and PEO and PLM-SI, the integrations between PLM and our ERP and MES systems.
Okay, and there's been a little gap filling going on. Maybe not everything was where you wanted it. There's been a little bit of work had to be done, maybe to answer some of those very unique circumstances.
Yeah, and that's always a challenge, right? When we look at working with larger companies like SAP and Siemens, they're looking to roll out products that are specific to meet a lot of folks' needs, especially in A&D. We do have unique situations where we do have to do customizations. And, whether it's customizations that we do internally at Northrop, but we are also leveraging HCL to help bridge some of those gaps.
It's one of the best examples I've seen of kind of this triangle of co-development where we had a very tight circle between HCL, Northrop, and SAP.
Yes.
To talk about what needed to be done, what's on the roadmap, what's coming up. If we are going to make some local customizations, how can we make sure they migrate?
Yeah.
It was really a great example of collaboration.
Yes, so we'll go to, this is probably what you guys all really want to know is the lessons learned, right? This is really I say once in a career or once in a 20-year opportunity to really transform the way your business operates, right? I always tell my kids, this is my opportunity to leave my fingerprints on Northrop Grumman, right? Now, the important part is it is managing people, processes, systems. Change management's a huge aspect of it. But as you look at it, for me and my lessons learned, the business process. We talked about harmonization. We talked about standardization. That isn't an easy thing to do. Making sure you have executive leadership buy-in for that, making sure it's both top-down and bottoms-up to get to that middle layer to get their buy-in is one of those areas that definitely need to spend some time and focus on that as you go forward.
But middle management can be very caught in the middle. Again, with our background and experience in running factories, your job is to manage variation to the lowest level you can.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very scary back in my shop floor days when IT would show up and say, we're going to transform you. We're going to change everything about how you do everything, and you're going to love it. And it's not that we wanted to resist change just for the sake of resisting it. It's that managing that variation in a complex industry where you're grinding gears down to 2 millionths of an inch.
Yeah.
That's really one of the key focuses is trying to maintain as much stability as you can. So transformation can be very scary, right?
Yes, absolutely. Number 2 is SAP PEO is a newer product, especially as we talk about A&D and adoption. It is evolving rapidly, right? There's a lot of change that goes into it. Having a trusted partner like HCL really has helped us navigate through those changes as they work with SAP as our product angel. So stay on top of those changes, stay on top of that, because then some of those changes will really drive and add value to your business as you look to incorporate. Number 3, data, right? Data. This is the key to this transformation. It's never as clean as you think it is. With Northrop Grumman and bringing in legacy systems, legacy programs, 4 different sectors, they all operate differently, which means their data structure is different, right? Spend a lot of time on that and make sure you plan it into your deployments, because I'd say whatever you plan, double it, because it's never as simple as you think, right? Number 4, business reporting. Again, those metrics, the goal here is to get that data in the hands of the users and leadership to drive real-time decisions faster, right? Make sure you plan for that accordingly, get the right resources there, because that data visibility and those metrics are important. And finally, measuring your go-live metrics, right? Having those go-live metrics to ensure that the value that you originally planned for is actually being met. So then you can show the business that, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we've done for you.
Yeah, when you participate in creating that business case, typically you get a knock on the door one day from the CFO wanting to know show me the money, right?
Yeah.
You got to come out the other end. And so it's very important. We all know a lot of the value doesn't really come from the technology itself. It comes from the business process changes and behavioral changes, right, that result from having the technology. So the ability to come in, and I think it's why a lot of programs bring in people like us from the business, because we understand how to make those behavioral changes, the business process changes to actually realize the value. So it's got to be a very symbiotic relationship for sure.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. We just love working with you all.